Hare Krishna. My Dandavat pranams to everybody on the Wednesday, the 10th of January, 2024. So we'll have a kirtan and then we'll relish our Jaiva-Dharma. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Ramo Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai.
Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai.
Oh Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari.
Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Gaura Hari.
Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura. Oh Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe.
Jaya Radha,
Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radhe,
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri
Radhe.
Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Guru Garanga Gan Habika Girit Hari. Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Brishabhana Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai, Nityananda Rai Ki Jai, Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai, Vaishnavas Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotara Sadashi Shimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotara Sadashi Shimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotara Sadashi Shimat Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotara Sadashi Shimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaurikishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladev Vidibhushan Gaudi Vedantacharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Siramani Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Srila Krishnas Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan, Shri Bhata Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal, Bhattadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda, Gauda Padasada Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sika Holsi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Shri Gauda Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai, Shri Antadvip Maya Posim Antadvip Gautram Dvip Madhya Dvip Kola Dvip Richadvip Janadvip Modam Dvip Rudradvip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwadasavar Matmika, Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai, Radhakun Shamakun Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai, Shrimati Purnamasi Devi Yogamaya Maharani Ki Jai, Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai, Ketra Mandal Ki Jai, Sarva Vignashikari, Shri Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Shri Bhakta Prava Shri Prahlad Ki Jai, Chari Sampradaya Chari Dham Chari Acharya Ki Jai, Akara Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Keshavji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Devananda Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Gauda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Aginati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu unmilitam jena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Priya Surupe Daita Surupe Prema Surupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swabila Surupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuranavartino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Tudikatamba Sadipita Sadharadare Kandare Swaratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyam Apetykrityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadita Rangamadye Kripa Maitvam Saranam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarabindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Pachapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasarashishi Machila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasarashishi Mat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And unto Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Brayate. And all the Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha, kripa sindhabhyevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnave namo namaha. So coming to our Falshruti again, which never becomes stale, because every conception that Bhaktivinoda Thakur plants in our consciousnesses is a seed. And what do seeds do? They grow. So it's an appreciation of the growth of the different seeds. We're hearing it so many times. We're saying the same conclusions so many times, but we haven't woken up yet. So the seed has further to grow. So each time we hear of the different dynamic growths of the seed, the more appreciation we have each time. So every time it's fresh. This is a transcendental Shastra. It's not anything material or mundane. Transcendence means it's beyond the third dimension. Two-dimensional world is where we live in, of duality. The three-dimensional world is like the astral plane. Ghosts, hobgoblins, spirits, all of this. That's the third dimension. Fourth dimension is transcendence. It's beyond. So that world that is beyond is eternal. It has no end to it. There's no beginning, there's no end. This Shastra has come from that world. It's Apurushaya. It's not written by man. It's channeled into the heart of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he's distributing it to us. All of the conceptions that we need to come out of this two-dimensional frame, beyond the astral plane, that means beyond Gyan Yoga. He's given us so many times the delineation. It's not karma. Karma is just circling in this material world. Gyan is circling in the uh, third dimension, we can say, the astral world, going to nirvana or the Brahmand. It's in that realm. It's not across into the spiritual realm. The Brahmajyoti is the effulgence of the spiritual realm, but it doesn't have activity within the Brahmajyoti. So those who decide to merge into that realm, they just remain in that conception of Shantaras. Brahmabhuta prasanatmana sochati nakanchati, no suffering, no lamentation, and they feel that they've achieved everything. They've actually obliterated their identity completely. But as Rupa Goswami says in the Laghu Bhavanamrita, the illumination from that spirit soul is enhancing Sri Krishna's illumination. So the spirit soul is still engaged in service to Krishna. You cannot, we are Vibhinamsa Tattva, manifesting from Krishna. So our dharma is only to serve Krishna, and that will bring us the greatest success and fruit. So this Jaiva-Dharma is of a transcendental nature completely. It has no end, no beginning, and every part of it is related to devotion. We see in our study what are the five principal angas of bhakti. Sadhu Sangha. So we see Sadhu Sangha from the very first page. Sannyasi Thakur is coming to take Sadhu Sangha from Prem Das Babaji. He's relating his own experience of Sadhu Sangha in coming to this path. And then he discusses Dharma. That's making the platform. So Sadhu Sangha is throughout. And then he becomes Vaishnava Das. Then he gives that association to Lahari Mahashai. Lahari Mahashai is giving it to his son, Devi Das. And now these brahmanas have come in the 6th chapter. They are also getting Sadhu Sangha. And they will be enlightened by that Sadhu Sangha. So this is the first anga of bhakti. And then we see the second anga, Sadhu Sangha Nam Bhajan. So we see constantly Bhaktivinoda Thakur is describing the journey is to chant. Vaishnav Das, he tells Lahari Mahashai to chant. Prem Das Babaji is telling Sannyasi Thakur to chant all the way through. This platform of the chanting of the holy name is propounded strongly. So Sadhu Sangha, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravanam. We're hearing so many verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. This compilation is like the Bhagavatam. It has the same efficacy, the same potency as the Bhagavatam. So Bhagavat Shravanam, these currents are the golden lines, we can say, that are coming through this Jaiva Dharma. And then we have Mathura Vas, which the whole dialogue is set in Navadvip Dham. Everything is describing the different aspects of Gaur Lila. It's just like a touch away, more or less, a whisper away from every scene that is described is one of, it's the Bengal countryside. It's Godrum Dweep, it's Madhya Dweep, it's Kola Dweep, it's Mayapur. All of these places are fully described and presented to us. So these 5 angas, and then Srimutaya Shradaya Sevana, the worship of Thakurji. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur has woven the instructions of Thakurji so much into so many of the different chapters describing the nature of the worship, that it's not a we read already how this murti is manifesting from the heart of the pure devotee. So it's a transcendental impression that that devotee has, and then he manifests it in this world. So he's already described that. But there's many other chapters where, especially in the 11th chapter, where he has conversation with the Muslims, and they're asking specifically about the murti, because in Islam they don't have a form of Allah. What to speak of a material form? So all of this is explained. So these 5 angas, we could actually do a study of these Sambandha chapters according to these 5 angas of bhakti. Where is Sadhu Sangha mentioned? Where is chanting Harinam mentioned? All references could be all the way through. Where is Bhagavat Shravana mentioned? So just seeing these threads, and amongst all these threads, he's showing conclusively that transcendence is beyond this material world completely, because it has nothing to do with karma yoga, has nothing to do with Gyan yoga, but they are practices on the same ladder. This was a big lesson that we heard in the 3rd chapter. We have karma yoga, Gyan yoga, and then we have bhakti yoga. So very clearly how to actually free ourselves from this material conception. We engage in activities in the material world, And then when we start to become a little more advanced, we engage in study of the scripture, etc. And we come into the platform of Gyan Yoga. But Gyan Yoga is not going to take us to transcendence. Neither will Astanga Yoga take us out of this world. It's still operating on this level. Not even Vaidhi Bhakti, we've just understood. I was listening today, my Gurudev was saying, not even in thousands of births, if you're practicing Vaidhi Bhakti, can you attain that transcendental reality. What are the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti? It's governed by fear. Fear of not getting something, and fear that if I don't do the practice, something bad or negative will happen. It's driven by that. So that's okay to begin with. That's necessary to begin with, because we have to frighten the conditioned souls, so to speak, to wake them up, to realize that the true Dharma is transcendence, and that's beyond this world. So beyond the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti is Raganuga Bhakti. And this is the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this spontaneous attraction to Krishna. And how does that develop? We will really relish this in the last 14 chapters. But at the moment, we're just in the 6th chapter, cutting various jungles. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is very kindly cutting these jungles, but in such a blissful way to lead us forward always. So we're into the, which verses?
The last.
Last 5, okay.
Jaiva-Dharma pate se Shuddha Bhakti hoy, Jaiva-Dharma na padile kabu Bhakti noy. One who reads Jaiva-Dharma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaiva-Dharma can never attain Bhakti.
That's the truth he's giving us. Rupanuga Abhiman
Pate
Patetrita
sida
Hoy,
hoy, Jaiva-Dharma
Jaiva-Dharma
vimuka
Vimuka
ke
Ke
dharma
Dharma
hi na
Hina
koy.
Koi.
Faithfully reading Jaiva-Dharma will surely strengthen one's Abhiman as Rupanuga, follower of Sri Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva-Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles.
Unless we read this Jaiva-Dharma carefully, with great attention, we will not connect with transcendence. My nature is transcendental. My nature is pure spirit soul. The pure spirit soul will only be satisfied when he's serving the supreme spirit soul. And this journey of Jaiva-Dharma is going to take us to exactly that conception. And if we don't read this, and if we're averse to reading this, it means we don't want to get out of this material predicament. We want to stay rooted in this material, conditioned, suffering state.
Yava jivan je pade Jaiva-Dharma, Bhakti mane se jnana jnana karma. One who faithfully reads Jaiva-Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with Bhakti and will surely realize the futility of Gyan and Karma.
Yes, he'll realize bhakti if we read it every day of our lives. We can. As I just said at the very beginning, it's so diverse. There are so many aspects that we can examine and get inspiration from on our journey to connecting fully in devotional service with the Lord. So it's ever fresh, so it can be read every day.
Krishna Ramala Seva Labi Seyanara Seva Sukha Magnarahe Sada Krishna Para. Such a man, being fully devoted to Shri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service.
Yes, forever. It's eternal. We're going to that eternal realm, that transcendental realm, that I just called as the 4th dimension, so to speak. So that is our journey. That is where we're going. So now, today, we're on page 104, and Chudamani is listening carefully to Vaishnava Das, and he's asking very intelligent questions. We should understand Chudamani is at the top of his profession, so to speak, as a Brahmin. He's a nationwide accomplished Brahmin. He's traveled all over India, and he's defeated so many. So he's smart, but he's only smart in Gyan and the aspects of Vidhi at most. So he hasn't understood what is transcendence. He can't understand that the soul if the soul is on a journey to transcendence, if he wants to become a Vaishnava, a Muslim, then he can transcend his caste and creed. But he can't engage in social activities because he's still in the body of a Muslim, just like we gave the example yesterday of Haridas Thakur. He would never think to go into the Jagannath temple. Sanatan Goswami was the same, and Rupa Goswami. They would never think to go into the Jagannath temple. But for us Westerners, we are blessed because my Gurudev has said that actually the heart of Lord Jagannath resides in Gopinath. So Tota Gopinath is there, that Mahaprabhu manifested himself, brought out of the sand, and Radha and Lalita Sakhi are there also. And Mahaprabhu, he left this world by entering into that body of Gopinath. So for anyone who is outside of that Brahminical caste, he can certainly go into the Gopinath temple and be welcomed with open arms. So we'll just read this question. Chudamani is saying, let us admit that some people have developed faith in the Shastras, although their natures are not elevated. Are such people also eligible for bhakti? Vaishnav Das. Shraddha is the only cause of eligibility for bhakti. This is a very important point. Shraddha. Nature is the cause of eligibility for karma. Yes, what is your nature? Your active karma, your material nature. You perform your activities according to your material nature. But bhakti is based on shraddha, on faith. But not for bhakti. Nature is the cause of eligibility for karma, but not for bhakti. In other words, they are born as brahmanas, but that doesn't necessarily qualify them for bhakti unless they're practicing bhakti. They haven't understood that. They've just been complacent and just sitting in their um, elevated position in society and been satisfied with that. It's practically the same as karma yoga. What is the difference? It's eligibility according to the body. This is clearly stated in the following shlokas from Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 20, 27, 28.
जात श्रद्धो मत कथासु निर्विणः सर्वकर्मसु वेद दुःखात्मकान् कामान् परित्यागेऽपि अनिस्वरः ततो भजेत् मां प्रीतः श्रद्धुर्दृढनिश्चयः जुष्मानश्च तन् कामान् दुःखोदकरामाश्च ग्रह्यान्.
A sadhak who has developed faith in narrations about me and who is disgusted with all kinds of fruit of activity may still be unable to give up material enjoyment and the desire for such enjoyment. Knowing that such so-called pleasures are actually sources of misery, he should condemn himself while attempting to enjoy them. In other words, don't try to enjoy in ignorance. Understand what we're doing. We have to wake up to these things. Therefore, in due course of time, he may be able to worship me with love, faith, and fixed determination. It's part of the path. He's not saying cut immediately. You do the pleasurable sensual activities, but you know that this is on the material platform. You're in no doubt whatsoever. Paramdrisvara nivartante. Then the higher taste will come.
प्रोक्तेन भक्तियोगेन भजतो मास्करान् मुने कामहृद्या नाश्यन्ति सर्वमयि हृदि स्थिते विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिश्चिदायन्ते सर्वसमयः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि मयि दृष्ट किलात्मनि.
Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20. These are instructions to Uddhav. When the sadhak constantly worships me by the method of bhakti yoga that I have described, I come and sit in his heart. As soon as I am established there, all material desires and sanskars, the impressions on which the material desires are based, are destroyed. Amazing. How beautiful. When the sadhak directly sees me as Paramatma, situated in the hearts of all living entities, the knot of the false ego of his heart is pierced. All of his doubts are cut to pieces, and his desires for fruitive activities are completely eradicated. Very beautiful. This is Krishna himself directly speaking.
यत् कर्मभिर्यत् तपसा ज्ञानं वैराग्यतश्च यत् योगेन दानधर्मेण श्रेयोभिरितरैरपि सर्वं मद्भक्तियोगेन मद्भक्तो लभते न्यासा सर्वगपार्वर्गं मद्धामं कथाञ्चिद् यदि वाञ्छति.
Whatever results are obtained with great difficulty through fruitive activities, austerity, knowledge, renunciation, practice of yoga, charity, religious duties, and all other auspicious types of sadhan are easily obtained by my bhaktas through the power of bhakti yoga. There doesn't need to be any extraneous endeavor, just direct. Although my bhaktas are free from all ambition, they could easily obtain promotion to the celestial planets or attain liberation or residence in Vaikuntha, but if they at all desired such things. So these efforts for austerity, etc., are not necessary for the bhakta. The bhakta simply needs, but this is very difficult for people to think because the whole material world is conditioned by the encouragement for achievement, achievement, achievement. We hear from tiny age, kindergarten, achieve, you must do well in your exams so that you'll get a good job, so you'll be able to lord it over people in the world, right? And you'll become happy with a big house and a big car, and then you'll be happy. There's no other way to be happy. But this idea of achievement, that's in the material realm. Even Gyan Bhakti is the idea of achievement. This is Aroha Panta. This is the ascending path. Our path is Avaroha Panta, the descending path where we're crying for mercy, pitifully crying for mercy. That means the embodiment of that verse, Trinada pi sunichena, tarora pi suhishena, amanina manadena kirtanya sarhari. This verse, Trinada peace, this means, the first line means that natural humility is born from an absence of sense gratification. As soon as you no longer desire to enjoy the senses, a natural humility will come in the heart. And then the second line, Tarora Pisuishana, this is purity of the heart born from non-envy. The tree is the description of Tarora Pisahishana. And the tree is completely non-envious. You can chop the tree down or take its branches. It doesn't complain. It has no envy. So this pure-hearted aspect of the jiva is embodied in that. And then amanina, this is when the purity of the conditioned soul, when he's freed from the false ego, from the material ego, then he's able to conduct his activities very clearly and simply in life. This purity of the self by relinquishing the false ego. And then amanina, manadena. This is when the jiva, he offers respects to everyone according to their respective positions. So these four aspects are there. We have a very nice sheet with these written down that we'll post on the WhatsApp thread afterwards. This is from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Shikshastikam commentary on this verse. It's very beautiful. So this is a systematic development of Bhakti Yoga that arises from Shraddha, because his question was about are such people eligible for Bhakti? And Babaji is answering about Shraddha. Shraddha is the pinpoint. So this is a systematic development of Bhakti that arises from Shraddha. Chudamani, what if I don't accept the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam? Vaishnavadas, this is the conclusion of all Shastras. If you don't accept the Bhagavatam, you will be troubled by other Shastras. There is no need for me to quote many different Shastras. You may simply consider what is said in Bhagavad Gita, which is accepted by the adherents of all philosophical systems. In fact, all instructions are present in the Gita shloka that you uttered when you first arrived here. Bhagavad Gita 9:30.
अपि चेत् सुदुराचारो भजते माम् अनन्यभाग् साधुरेव मन्तव्यः सम्यग् व्यवस्थितो हि सः.
When one has no object of devotion other than me, and his faith is thus exclusively fixed in me, he remains absorbed in worshipping me by hearing Harikatha and chanting Hari Nam. Such a person has adopted the path of sadhus and should therefore be considered a sadhu, even if he behaves in opposition to the path of karma due to an abominable or depraved nature. Most wonderful verse. The purport is that the system of Varnashram that belongs to Karma Kanda is one type of path. The process of knowledge and renunciation that belongs to Gyan Kand is a second type of path. And faith in Harikatha and Harinam that develops in Satsanga is a third type of path. So again, these principles that I said at the beginning about Sadhu Sangha, Nam, Kirtan, and Bhagavat Shravanam. Sometimes these three paths are taken together as a single yoga system, identified either as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, and sometimes they are practiced as separate systems. When they're separated, then that's tragic because there's no conclusion. If you're just practicing Karma Yoga but you don't know about Bhakti Yoga, then you're going to be engrossed in all material activities. And if you're just practicing Jnana Yoga, you're just going to become someone who wants to merge into the Brahmajyoti, like a Brahmavad or a Mayavad even. So we have to see the linking of these three, identified either as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, and sometimes they are practiced as separate systems. The practitioners of these different systems are known as Karma Yogis, Jnana Yogis, and Bhakti Yogis. Amongst all of these, the Bhakti Yogis are the best because Bhakti Yoga is endowed with unlimited auspiciousness and is unparalleled in its supremacy. This conclusion is supported in the statement of the Gita. Yoginam.
योगिनाम् अपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनात्म योगिनाम् अपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनातामृतां मन श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां सा मे युक्तमतो मतः.
O Arjuna, of all yogis, I consider the topmost yogi to be the one who constantly worships me with great faith, with his mind deeply absorbed in loving attachment to me. This is from the 6th chapter of Gita. The Gita 9:31-32 further explains.
क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा सस्वच्छान्ति निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीय ना मे भक्त प्रणश्यति मामि पार्थ व्यप मां हि पार्थ व्यपाश्रित्य येऽपि स्युः पापयोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यस्ततः शूद्रस्तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम्.
It is essential that you clearly understand the purport of the shloka Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma. Faithful people who have adopted the path of Ananya Bhakti, exclusive devotion, are quickly purified of all faults in their nature and behavior. Dharma surely follows whatever there is in Bhakti, because Bhagavan is the root of all Dharma, and he is easily conquered by Bhakti. As soon as Bhagavan is established in the heart, Maya, who binds the jivas in illusion, is immediately dissipated. There is no need for any other method of sadhan. Dharma appears as soon as one becomes a bhakta and makes the bhakta's heart virtuous. The moment one desires for mundane sense enjoyment, the moment one's desires for mundane sense enjoyment have dissipated, peace pervades the heart. That is why Sri Krishna promises, my bhakta will never perish. I just said that Trinadapi Sunichena means that purity of heart arises when one is completely detached from the material energy. It's exactly the same as this. My bhakta will never perish. The karmis and jnanis may fall prey to bad association in the course of practicing their sadhan because they are independent, but the bhaktas do not fall down because the influence of Bhagavan's presence saves them from bad association. The bhakta has the supreme destination in his grasp, whether he takes birth in a sinful family or in the home of a Brahmana. This is the point. Bhakti is superior to all other considerations, either a Chandala or a Brahmana. Bhakti reigns supreme because Bhakti is referring to the paramatic aspect, the eternal aspect of nature of the jiva, whereas Vyavaharic is the material consideration. They're quite distinct. Chudamani, look here. The provision found in our Shastras for determining caste by birth seems to me to be superior. One who has taken birth in a Brahmin family comes to the platform of knowledge by regular practice of Sandhya Vandana, and in the end he is destined to obtain liberation. I cannot understand how Shraddha develops. Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam explain that bhakti arises from Shraddha, but I would like to know clearly what the jiva should do to attain this Shraddha. He's confused. He doesn't know anything about this path of bhakti. He knows about the Sandhya Vandana, the path that the smartas practice, considering that to be devotion, but it's devotion to karmakand or gyankand. It's not Shuddha Bhakti at all. Vaishnav Das. Shraddha is the jiva's nitya swabhav, eternal nature. We had in the very first chapter, remember the beautiful example of the iceberg. The iceberg, its nature is actually liquid, but it's become hard through association with the cold weather. And it thinks its identity is very hard. So this is an acquired nature. This is called nishag. So this swabhav will only manifest when that acquired nature is purified. When a warm current comes, for example, the iceberg will melt back into liquidity, which is its real swabhav. That's its real nature. It's not hard. So we are not this material body. When the warm rays from that transcendental sadhu begin to enliven our hearts, we also will wake up to our real identity and relinquish these bodily desires along with the whole bodily conception of reputation, etc., that I'm undergoing, trying to acquire in this world. They will all just peel away. That's called sadhu sangha. Shraddha is the jiva's nitya swabhav, eternal nature. But faith in the performance of varnashram duties does not arise from this eternal nature. Rather, it arises from naimitic swabhav, the circumstantial or temporary nature. It is said in the Chandogya Upanishad,
यद्वै श्रद्धाति अतः मनुते न श्रद्धानं मनुते श्रद्धाद् एव मनुते श्रद्धत्व एव विज्ञासितैव येति श्रद्धं भागवो विज्ञानस इति.
Sanat Kumar said, when a person develops Shraddha, he can think about a subject and understand it, whereas one cannot do so without Shraddha. You have to have faith in the topic first to think about it. Indeed, only a person who has Shraddha can reflect upon anything, right?
Yes.
You won't have the time to reflect if you have no Shraddha. You'll just either accept it or reject it, accept it or reject it. That's the nature of the mind. It doesn't go very deep. But if you have some faith in the objective of the practice, then you will go deeper and Shraddha will develop. Reflect upon anything. Therefore, you must inquire very specifically about Shraddha. Narad said, O Master, I particularly wish to know about this Shraddha. Some people who are learned in the conclusions of the Shastras have explained that the word Shraddha means to have faith in the Vedas and in the words of Sri Guru. This meaning is not wrong, but it is not entirely clear. In our Sampradaya, the meaning of the word Shraddha is given as follows.
श्रद्धात्व अनुपोय वर्जम भक्ति उन्मुखी चित्तवृत्ति विशेषः.
Shraddha, this is Amnaya Sutra. Shraddha is the characteristic function of the heart that strives towards bhakti alone, which is totally devoid of karma and gyan, which desires nothing other than the exclusive pleasure of Krishna. This is the same as the verse Anyapilasita shunyam jnana karamadi anavritam. Anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiya uttama. This is topmost bhakti. When the sadhak regularly hears the instructions of sadhus in the association of Shuddha bhaktas, a conviction arises in his heart that he cannot obtain his eternal welfare by the methods of karma, gyan, or yoga, and so on. Because how can you break out of this material world of consciousness without the help of something that is beyond this material? Like, for example, how can you get yourself out of a well unless someone throws you a rope who's not in the well? So these transcendental personalities in our Guru Parampara are not in this well. They're not in this conditioned state. So they can throw the rope from a transcendental place to pick. That's why our Guru Parampara is so imperative to catch up, to acknowledge regularly, constantly. This is the line, this is the current that is going to pull me out of this material predicament. Only this. You cannot get something transcendental from something material. It can't happen that way. You have to have that spiritual ignition in your heart that can only be ignited by someone whose heart is already ignited, like a piece of wood. A piece of wood can never catch on fire unless another piece of wood that is already on fire touches it. It just remains like a log for millions and millions of years. But when a lighted piece of wood touches it, immediately it can be inflamed. So our Guru Parampara is the same as that. When the sadhak regularly hears the instructions of sadhus in the association of Shuddha Bhaktas, a conviction arises in his heart that he cannot obtain his eternal welfare by the methods of karma, gyan, yoga, and so on, and that he has no means of success unless he takes exclusive shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Hari. When this conviction appears, it may be understood that Shraddha has arisen in the sadhak's heart. The nature of Shraddha is described as follows.
Sacha Sharanapati Lakshana.
But you see, one must be this
Sharanagati.
current that I've been talking about most of the day is humility. Unless this humility is there to become Sharanagat to Krishna, it means I have to appreciate that Krishna is the supreme and I am that infinitesimal jiva at Krishna's feet. I am not. Our misconception, whenever we try to enjoy the material energy, is that I am the boga. I am the bogatya. I am the enjoyer. As soon as that mood of enjoyment comes, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says, humility is far away. As soon as a sense of enjoyment comes in the heart, we think when we're about to take a meal, for example, the senses are all primed up to relish something for the senses, the sight, the smell, the taste, etc., of the food. But if we're not conscious of what is happening then, that the senses are taking prominence in my consciousness, we can have to control that. And if we start to control, for example, our dietary habits, our eating, etc., we will automatically carry that sense of control through to so many deep places in the consciousness. Automatically, if we can begin to control the tongue, it's saying Vacho Vegam, Manasakrota Vegam, Jiva, Jiva. This Jiva is the tongue. The tongue is the gang leader, it's described, the dacoit leader of all the senses. It'll just get away if it's not carefully controlled. So if we use the tongue carefully for chanting Hare Krishna, carefully for speaking Harigata, carefully for discussing these topics, and carefully honoring Mahaprasad. My Gurudev said so many times, we should not eat prasad, we should honor prasad. I'm saying that, but I don't know how to do that yet. I'm in process. and that he has no means of success unless he takes exclusive shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Hari. When this conviction appears, it may be understood that Shraddha has arisen in the sadhak's heart. The nature of Shraddha is described as follows. We just said that verse. Shraddha is characterized by its external symptom known as Sharnagat, surrender to Sri Hari. Yes, when we submit to the Lord, then Shraddha is there. Sharanagati is described in these words.
आनुकूल्यस्य संकल्पं प्रतिकूल्यस्य वर्जनं रक्षसति विश्वासो गोपर्तवर्णनं ततः आत्मनिक्षेपं कार्पण्य सद्विद शरणागतिः.
These are the 6 symptoms of self-surrender. The first 2 are anukulyasya sankalpa and pratikulyasya varjanam. I will only do that for which is favorable for unalloyed bhakti. Remember, he's answering the question about Shraddha. So he begins with faith, with Sharanagat. But remember also, as we've spoken before, that Sharanagat is not the principle of bhakti, it's the beginning of bhakti. It's the threshold of bhakti. When the faith is there, then one can inquire about bhakti. Well, who is Krishna? Where is Krishna? What are his pastimes, etc.? Then one can enter into the kingdom of bhakti. But Sharanagati must be there as a precursor to actually go there. I will reject all that is unfavorable. This is called sankalpa or pratigyan, a solemn vow. The third symptom is rakshasisyati vishvaso, faith in Bhagavan as one's protector. Bhagavan is my only protector. I can derive absolutely no benefit from Gyan Yoga and other such practices. This is an expression of trust, Vishvasa, just like Prahlad Maharaj, fully trusting in the Lord. The fourth symptom is Gopritve Varanam, deliberate acceptance of Bhagavan as one's maintainer. I cannot obtain anything or even maintain myself by my own endeavor. I will serve Bhagavan as far as I'm able, and he will take care of me. This is what is meant by dependence. Nirbharta, Bharata. The fifth symptom is Atma Nikshkepa, surrender. Who am I? I am his. My duty is to fulfill his desire. This is submission of the self, Atma Nivedanam. The sixth symptom is Karpanya, meekness. I am wretched, insignificant, and materially destitute. This is what is meant by humility, Karpanya or Dainya. That's a very beautiful paragraph. We should mark this paragraph and for further reference and to, if we need to describe to anyone the nature of humility, or of Sharanagati rather, this is a beautiful description. When these moods become established in the heart, a disposition arises that is called Shraddha. You see, that is bringing us to Shraddha. A jiva who has this Shraddha is eligible for bhakti, and this is the first stage in the development of the swabhav, like that of those pure jivas who are eternally liberated. Therefore, this is the nitya swabhav of the jivas, and all other swabhavs are naimitic. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so generous-hearted. He's giving us all this simple roadmap, how to follow, how to acquire bhakti. It starts with Shraddha, how to acquire Shraddha. Shraddha begins with Sharanagati. These are all simple, logical, rational steps that the sadhak must take to actually acquire bhakti. And he's saying it in such a simplistic, beautiful way. Chudamani, I understand, but you still have not explained how Shraddha develops. He hasn't got that vision. If Shraddha develops from Satkarma, virtuous deeds, then my argument is still stronger, because Shraddha cannot arise without properly performing the Satkarma and Swadharma of Varnashram. Muslims do not perform Satkarma, so how can they be eligible for bhakti? So it's a good question.
Yes.
He wants to know the answer. It's a good question. Everyone understand the question clearly? How can a Muslim perform sat karma when he can't be part of the Varnashram system? The Varnashram system was established by the Lord to progress for the jivas. But if a Muslim is not in the Varnashram system, how is he able to progress in that vyabharik way, in that material, practical way? Vaishnava Das, it is the fact that Shraddha arises from Sukriti, pious deeds. It is stated in the Brihat Naradiya Purana.
Bhaktistu Bhaktistu Bhagavad Bhakta Sangena Parijayate Satsanga Prapyate Pumbhi Sukritai Purva Sanchitahi.
The inclination for bhakti is awakened by association with Bhagavan's bhaktas. The jiva obtains the association of Shuddha bhaktas by the accumulated effect of spiritually pious activities performed over many lifetimes. There are two types of Sukriti, Nitya and Naimitic. The Sukriti by which one obtains Sadhusanga and Bhakti are Nitya Sukriti. The Sukriti by which one obtains material enjoyment and impersonal liberation are Naimitic Sukriti. Very clear. One is material and one is transcendental, one is spiritual. Sukriti which bears eternal fruit is Nitya Sukriti. Sukriti which bears temporary results, which are dependent upon some cause, is Naimitic or Anitya Sukriti. All types of material enjoyment are non-eternal because they clearly depend on some cause. Many people think that mukti is eternal, but this is only because they do not know the actual nature of mukti. The individual Atma, soul, is Shuddha, pure, Nitya, eternal, and Sanatan, primeval. The cause, nimitta, of the jiva's bondage is association with Maya, and mukti is the complete dissolution of this bondage. This act of deliverance or release from bondage is accomplished in a single moment. So the act of release is not in itself an eternal action. All consideration to make ends of mukti ends as soon as emancipation is attained. So mukti is nothing more than the destruction of a material cause. Material cause is binding the jiva. So when the jiva gets freed from that material cause, he considers, yes, I've achieved the highest principle, but that's still not, he's just getting freed from a material cause. It's not an infusion of transcendence, is it? Therefore, since mukti is only the negation of a temporary material cause, it is also naimitic, causal and temporary. On the other hand, rati, or attachment for the feet of Sri Hari, never ends once it is established in the heart of the jiva. This is what we talked about at the very beginning today. This eternal nature of this Jaiva-Dharma. It never ends. There's no cessation to it. Therefore, it's eternal. So it's that eternal place that we are seeking to connect with, not the temporary cessation from misery and bondage. Therefore, this rati or bhakti is nitya dharma, and if we analyze its practices, angas, correctly, none of them can be said to be naimitic. The type of bhakti that terminates at the point that it bestows mukti is only a type of naimitic karma, while bhakti that is present before, during, and after mukti is a distinct and eternal truth, and it is the nitya dharma of the jiva. Mukti is but an irrelevant secondary result of bhakti. It is said in the Mundaka Upanishad,
Parikshan Lokan Karmachitan Brahmanaho Nirvedam Ayan Nasti Akrita Kritena Tadvignyatam Sa Guru Eva Bigachate Samit Pani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam.
a brahmana who has exhaustively studied the Shastras will become disinterested in the performance of karma by carefully examining the temporary, impure, and miserable nature of Swagaloka and other celestial planets, which are attainable by performing material pious deeds. We really see this in the 10th canto, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th canto. So many pastimes about Swagaloka and so much difficulties they have. So many difficulties for Lord Indra, the king of Swaga. So this is clearly shown before the 10th canto is reached. This is so because the Nitya Vastu, Bhagavan, cannot be obtained by worldly karma, for he is beyond the reach of karma. To gain factual knowledge and realization of that eternal Supreme Person, one should find a qualified guru who is learned in the Vedas, who is firmly established in the service of Bhagavan, and who knows the absolute truth. One should then approach that guru carrying wood for kindling a sacrificial fire, and should surrender body, mind, and words to him with faith and humility. Karma, yoga, and gyan all produce naimitic sukriti. Bhakta Sangha, the association of bhaktas, and Bhakti Kriya Sangha, contact with acts of devotion, produce nitya sukriti. Only one who has accumulated nitya sukriti over many lifetimes will develop shraddha. Naimitic sukriti produces many different results, but it will not lead to the development of faith in unalloyed bhakti. So we'll stop there. But I read this last part quite quickly. But you should, for yourselves, you can read it again carefully. This chapter, every page is just packed, pregnant with truths, heavy with wonder. Really, all these sentences are so powerful. But I would like to keep reading our Jaiva-Dharma, so I'm not lingering too long on the different points. But we ourselves should go over it many, many times. I was sharing the other day how many times I've read this Jaiva-Dharma. And yet every single time I read it, I feel I've never read it before. It's the truth. I feel this is the first time I'm really experiencing the clarity on these particular truths, because every time we will have progressed something in our consciousnesses, will become purified by our various practices in devotion or harinama, etc. And each time we assess it again, some new light is brought. This is the nature of an eternal shastra. It's eternal. So we're very fortunate to go through this eternal shastra. Sri Jaiva-Dharma ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki
Jai.
jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare. Hare
Hare
Ramo,
Rama,
Hare Ramo, Ramo
Rama
Ramo,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare. Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare. Hare
Hare
Ramo,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Ramo, Ramo
Rama
Ramo,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare. Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare. Hare
Hare
Ramo,
Rama,
Hare Ramo, Ramo
Rama
Ramo,
Rama,
Hare.
Hare
That
Hare.
go to Hari Bol,
Bol,
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol,
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol.
Hari Bol. We chant these mantras at the end of our discussion to close the door, so that whatever we have absorbed during the discussion will be retained. If we don't put the full stop at the end, it's like everything will just be washed away. That's the reason why I like to. My Gurudev said we should chant at the beginning and at the end. Then we can capture the conceptions. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai,
Jai,
Srila Vaishnavas ki jai,
Jai,
Anantakota Vaishnava Rinda ki jai,
Jai.
Gold Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa
Kripa
Sindhavevacha,
Sindhu Patitanam
Patidanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavnivyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. Gold Premanande, Hari Bol.